everyone! Welcome back to BudgetMumSoph. Today I'm going to share with you my top 10 tips on how to live on a budget, save some money, hopefully make some money and just live a more budget friendly life. I do just want to start with a little disclaimer just to say that we cannot save ourselves out of this situation. For example, if you're doing everything you can to try and save money but you're simply not earning enough to just be able to live, that's not your fault. So we are in a real cost of living crisis right now, and if you're doing everything you can and it's still not enough, you aren't alone. There's so many other people doing the same thing. I'll leave some links with some resources that can help. I know Citizens Advice are really good for helping as well. But yeah, I just wanted to start by saying if you are struggling and you're doing all these things and you're trying to save money and it's still not good enough, you're not alone. Tip for living on a budget is don't waste your money. Now, I'm really guilty of this. I see something else and I see something out and I'm like, oh my God, that's such a bargain, and I'll grab it. However, I just end up wasting my money. I wouldn't have bought it anyway, and it's just a waste. So one thing I do is I have a want list on my phone. I just keep a little list of all the things I want. If I see something online and I would normally go to impulse buy it, I stop myself and I add it to my want list. 9 times out of 10, the dopamine wears off, and after 24 hours I end up taking it off my want list because I don't even want it anymore. So a want list is a really good way for you to kind of prioritise things that you do want. And also, when you do have a bit of extra money to spend, go to your want list and buy something from your want list. You know that you really want it or need it, and it just really helps you prioritise where you're spending. My dad always has a saying, which is buy cheap, buy twice, and actually to some extent I do believe this. When you are spending things, some things are so overpriced and you can get cheaper alternatives. However, make sure that you're meeting somewhere in the middle. For example, if you buy some dodgy dresser from Temu and it's really flimsy, you probably are going to have to end up buying that again. And so you might as well have gone to IKEA and invested in something. Definitely a line. I've done this in the past where I've bought something like chest of drawers because I thought it was really cheap, and then it just falls apart, and I might as well have invested in the more expensive. So yeah, that's why a want list is really good, because you can prioritise where you're spending and what you're spending on. My second tip is to know the money that's coming in and out. I feel like everyone says this, but it is so important to budget your money. I use the free app Snoop. I'll leave my link down below. But it just means I know exactly where I'm spending. I can set budgets. For example, our eating out budget for a month is £50. I can check every day to make sure we're not going over that. And if we have gone over it, then we don't eat out for the rest of the month. So make sure you know what money's coming in, what money's going out, and set budgets for each little thing. So we have kind of our general budget, which is things like bills, direct debits, council tax, all that kind of stuff. Then we have shopping budgets, food shopping, transport, and all those kind of things. And it just helps us prioritise, know where we're spending and what areas we need to cut down our spending on. Budget number 3 is to buy secondhand where you can. For example, I wanted these IKEA chest of drawers for so long. It got to the point I was looking on Facebook Marketplace and I couldn't, they just weren't coming on. I very nearly went to IKEA and just thought, F it, I'm going to buy it new. I didn't, I carried on waiting, and then I got them for £50 on Facebook Marketplace. So keep your eye out. Olio is a really good app. They do things for free, especially furniture and things. Facebook Marketplace is great. Toys as well. Fairs and things. We're hopefully moving house this year, and let me tell you, I could go and spend a lot on furniture, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to keep my eye out on Facebook Marketplace and things like that. I'm just trying to buy a second-hand as much as possible, because at the end of the day, I could go and buy an IKEA unit, which is all brand new. I put it together and Albie could scratch it within 10 minutes. So second-hand furniture isn't going to do you any harm. Second-hand toys, we do a lot. Charity shops, boot fairs, because you know, his interests are in and out. He was into Paw Patrol last week, now he's into Spider-Man. So I can't keep up with buying new toys all the time. So we buy toys second-hand. It means he has more toys, and also he can have toys which are to his interest because we're not spending as much on brand new toys. Fourth tip is to make sure you're getting the best deal. Call your providers. We recently, our internet was going up, so we gave them a call. We were going to cancel and they gave us a better deal on our broadband. So those kind of things. Call your provider, see if there's anything you can do. What's the worst they're going to do is say no, in which case you decide to either stay or you decide to move and go somewhere cheaper. However, actually I've got a story. This did backfire to me once with car insurance. Somewhere I just got a bit cocky and I was like, yeah, they've offered me cheaper, can you go any lower? And they were like, no, and they were like, no, we can't, sorry. And I was like, all right, okay. So I had to cancel it and I ended up paying more. So be careful with that one. Make sure you have actually got a lower quote just in case they like want you to prove it, or if they say no, you have got somewhere to fall back on, you don't lose out on the lowest quote. But in terms of like, I do always try and kind of haggle the lowest deal as possible. It may not always pay off, but it's always worth a go. You do this quite a lot, like literally, I saved like 20 quid off my car insurance and I was the happiest person alive, because 20 quid is 20 quid and that 20 quid is gonna get you something else that you need or go towards something else, or you can put it in savings. So I think when you're spending a lot of money, like on car insurance, mine was £700, which is ridiculous because last year it was like 300. I know everyone's gone up, but it's ridiculous. When you're spending that much money, 20 quid doesn't sound like a lot, but actually it is. Like 20 quid's 20 quid. So always try and haggle for the best deal. Number 5 is don't be a brand snob. Now, kind of going back on what I said earlier about buy cheap, buy twice, but by that I mean some branded things aren't always best. Sometimes they are. For example, I'll give you one example is like cleaning products and washing up liquid. Actually, I find that when I buy the typical brand of washing up liquid that's very famous, it lasts me a lot longer than like supermarket own, or sometimes with like supermarket owned shower gels that are like 25p, I have to use a lot. So actually it's not as frugal in the long run. However, by brand snob, I mean things like beans, for example. I will put my hands up, I used to be such a bean snob. When I lived at home, my mum was buying Heinz. I was like, yeah, we only eat Heinz, I can only eat Heinz. Moved out, realised how expensive beans were, quickly started buying own brand, and honestly, I can't even tell the difference. So used to, I think, especially when people had a lot more money, people would buy brands, and it's become such a thing, isn't it? Like branded ketchup and, oh, I've got to have branded ketchup and things. But do we really, you know, for the sake of, it can save you like £3, £4, £5. That's money you're going to use in other areas, or you're going to put into your savings. It's a lot of money for the sake of your beans maybe tasting a little bit different than what you're used to. You'll quickly get used to it. My next top tip is make sure you're using Cashback. It's non-taxable, so you don't have to declare it or pay tax on it. Let me tell you how much I've currently got in my Quidco account. Quidco is the one I use the most. You just download the app and then you can go through them. Like, basically you go on there and you're like, oh, I'm going to buy from H&M, which I don't even think's on there. You go on the app and you say, oh, I'm going to buy from Calvin Klein. Click on Calvin Klein and then you get 12% cashback on your purchase. You can download like Chrome things as well, so when you on your laptop and you or computer and you go onto a site, a little pop-up comes up automatically to say, you just click it to say get cashback on this. I've currently got £106 in my balance plus another £81.57 to come through, and that's literally not doing anything but shopping. And just when I shop, and in fact I actually forget to do it sometimes, but when I shop I just go via Quidco. And I've earned nearly £200 just by doing that. And it's non-taxable, it's free money. Tip number 7 is to do no spend days. You guys know I love a no spend month. I do no spend January every year just to help reset my finances. But another thing I do every month is no spend days. Sometimes I'll kind of track it. Sometimes I'll just do, if I'm not feeling as, for example, June is a really expensive month for us. So I'll just make sure I'm doing the odd no spend day here and there. We love a no spend Sunday in this house where you're not spending money. It's so easy to go out and spend money. For example, today we've gone on a dog walk. We bought some drinks out and some chips out, some lunch out to share. If I'm doing a no spend day, we won't do that. And I'll save a tenner on drinks and chips. I know it sounds like really easy and simple to do, but you have to kind of train your mind into saying, right, this is a no spend day, got to get in the mindset, and then you don't do those things. Otherwise, if I don't tell myself I'm not doing a no spend day and we go out, I'll just be like, yeah, tap, tap, tap. So I have to consciously make sure I'm doing no spend days. I try and do 14 a month, which is about half the month. But sometimes it's hard, you know, when you've got those busier months, school holidays, things like that. But no spend days are a great way also to reset your spending habits, because I think sometimes we can get in the habit of just being like tap, 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 tap. But actually to have a no spend day, it's not all about the stuff and buying stuff and things. You just kind of it like grounds me. It makes me realise actually family is more important. Getting a bit deep now. No spend days just kind of take, I think as like a society we're obsessed with buying stuff and stuff all the time, and no spend days just take away from that and you can forget about the stuff and like all the consumerism, that was a big word, and things like that. And yeah, no spend days are one of my favourite things to do. You've got to be in the mindset for it, don't get me wrong, and you don't want to like it to depress you or anything by not spending, but it's such a good way to reset your finances. I think we don't realise how much we spend day to day. Like I definitely, before I started doing no spend days, no spend months, I did not realise that I was spending every single day. I just didn't. Whether you, I don't know, we run into the shop and I get Albie a treat, or run into the shop and grab something, or we were just spending all the time, and it's just not necessarily, you don't have to spend all the time. Tip number 8, that's 9. Tip number 8 is to, this is going way back to basics, but make sure you're using the most out of everything you have. For example, like when I was a kid, my mum would cut the end of the toothpaste and we'd like scrape out the toothpaste from inside to use every last bit. So now we do it, because actually if you're going to get 2 or 3 more uses out of your toothpaste, great. It's going to save you in the long run. Every little thing adds up. Same with shampoo. We'll take the lid off, add a little bit of water, make use of the shampoo as much as possible. All these little tiny changes, although they might seem really tiny and not very significant, they're going to, you know, it means that you won't have to buy toothpaste as so quickly next time, and then you do it again, you don't have to buy it so quickly next time. You know, you could cut out on a tube or something in a year. So all these tiny things make such a big difference. You know, ketchup and mayonnaise are notorious. The bottles, you know, you squeeze it and then by the time you open the lid and like scrape it all out, there's like 3, 4, 5 more portions in there that you just couldn't get out of the squeezy bottle. So make sure you're using what you have. Make sure you're using the most up of everything. We do this all the time, and sometimes it can be a bit like, you know, when you're scraping to get the shampoo out, but it is so worth it because you're not buying these things as much as possible. Cleaning products, again, are notorious for when they stop spraying, you think they've run out. I just put a little bit of water in and then you can reuse the cleaning spray for a little bit longer. All these little things. Actually, what I've started doing, talking of cleaning sprays, is I've been buying the like concentrated pods and reusing a spray bottle. Oh my god, it's saving me so much money, because the little concentrated pods are like a frat. You can get so many for a frat for like one price of a full price bottle. Oh my god, it's saving me so much money. And I didn't realise my moisturiser brand and my toner brand also do that, where you can just buy refills. So that's another thing that I'm doing. I've been buying refills and just refilling things, saving me so much money. I didn't realise how much like a plastic bottle actually contributes to the price of the cleaning product, and you're only going to throw it away after. So there's a bonus little tip for you there as well. Number 9, one of my favourite things, meal plan. I've got so much content on my Instagram, especially on my blog, of on how to save money, meal planning. You guys see I do it every week. I upload my food shopping hauls. But you can save so much money by meal planning. I'll put my hands up and say, before we were budgeting, we weren't meal planning. Oh my god, it would be whatever we had in the cupboard, or we'd pop down to Tesco to grab something for dinner. We were spending, hands up, for 3 of it, probably about £600-700 a month, and this was back then before like all the food inflation as well. Now we try and keep it under £400 a month. The thing I do is I tend to shop online, because I find that if I go into store I just impulse buy things. The middle aisle especially is an absolute killer at Aldi and Lidl for me. So if I shop online I can kind of keep track as I go. It's no children screaming, it's just a lot more less stressful, and I save money doing it. And one thing I do when I log on to Food Shop is I do dinners first and I meal plan first. So I'll add all the things I need for the dinners to my basket, and I can see how much dinners are going to cost. I try and keep it under, it used to be £20, but to be honest now it's more £25, because the cost of food has gone up by so much. But yeah, so for example, I'll add some mince, and then I'll be like, okay, we'll have mince, so we're going to have spag bowl and shepherd's pie that week. So I reuse ingredients as much as possible as well. Then potatoes, I'll be like, right, we're gonna have a roast, we can use that for lunches, or we can have a jacket potato one night. So when I'm meal planning, I'm always using the most of my ingredients and using them again. It can be a little bit samey when you have spag bowl twice in 1 week, or you have spag bowl, shepherd's pie, and I'm trying to think of another mince, I don't know, sloppy joes. Yeah, it's a little bit samey, but you're saving money and you're not wasting food. And then, as I say, that money can go towards things that, you know, holidays, days out, things like that. So meal prepping has definitely saved us a absolute fortune. And the way I do it, to add the meals first, just really helps because you can visually see how much you're spending on those meals. Oh, another thing I do is I only plan 5 or 6 meals in a week, because we tend to either eat at my mum's, or we'll end up having like egg on toast or beans on toast one night because neither of us can be bothered to make dinner. So I found when I was planning 7 meals a week, we were actually wasting a lot more because we weren't sticking to the meal plan, because we'd have those days where we couldn't be bothered after work and we'd end up making those, like, you know, quick, easy meals. So now I plan 5 or 6 meals, and that saved us so much. You know, we've always got things left over in the cupboard or in the freezer. You know, I love a good yellow stick of fine, so we've got stuff in the freezer that I know I can shove in. Or I'll order some fish fingers, you know, to keep in the freezer as a backup. Now, tip number 10 is to live below your means. Now, I want to be really careful with how I word this one, because I know so many people are living below their means because of the cost of living crisis we have at the moment. So if you're struggling bill to bill and you are living below your means, then obviously this tip isn't going to apply to you. However, if you do have a little bit extra disposable income each month and you're spending it where you maybe shouldn't be spending it, then this one's for you. So I know that I just can't reiterate enough that the situation we're in at the moment, the cost of living crisis, is still rife. Bills are going up and people's salaries aren't going up, so people are living below their means without meaning to. But one thing that comes up on my Facebook group quite often, and that I see, you know, people message me and whatever, and one thing that comes up all the time is, oh, I saw so-and-so, my friend or someone I went to school with, had this on social media, and one person had this, and now I feel like I need to get this because they're my age and they've got kids my age and their kids have this, and I, you know. And I think social media puts that extra pressure on us, as so many people are living not within their means because they see all these great things on social media and feel like they have to do that as well. And let me tell you, I'm here to tell you, I cannot reiterate enough, so many of these people are in debt. If you're, so, you know, someone might post that they've got this flashy car, they might be in debt. And that's how they're doing it. So don't feel bad about yourself just because you see somebody on social media is doing this and doing this. You don't need to compete. And actually, I found when we stopped doing that, because I'm guilty of it as well, you know, people were going on holidays and we couldn't afford a holiday. We could have got a credit card and maxed out our credit card to go on holiday, but we didn't. And actually, I'm so glad we didn't. One thing we try and do is to live below our means. For example, when Adam got a pay rise, our lifestyle didn't inflate with that. So Adam got a pay rise, which meant we'd have a couple of hundred extra disposable income per month. We could have very easily have gone and leased a car or booked a holiday and paid it off per month, but we decided actually not to, and to save that money instead. So we lived below our means. We were earning more than we were living, but because of that, it meant we could save. And then actually something did go wrong with our car, and we had that extra little bit of money to go towards our car, because as Adam's salary increased, our lifestyle didn't, if that makes sense. We lived below our means. So that is all my tips for how to live on a budget if you're a family or live a frugal lifestyle. If you're new here, hi, I'm BudgetMumSoph. I was predominantly on Instagram, but I'm tackling the YouTube world, so please make sure to give me a follow, subscribe. I'd absolutely love that. And I will see you very soon for another video. Goodbye.